Hello everybody and welcome to the final third, and today we're going to be doing our Premier League match week 10 predictions. It's been crazy season so far, already over a quarter of the way through, and been very interesting. Loads of good teams not playing very well and not getting good results, and vice versa. So it's been very interesting this season. But before we jump into the predictions, Al, do you want to give us the reveal for the player from the previous video?
Yes, the player was Aaron Ramsey. We'll give you the new 5 facts at the end of the video for the new player, and yeah, go back to Carlos.
Perfect, yeah. Let's just jump straight into the predictions. So, the first game of the weekend is Brighton versus Leeds. Al, what did you predict for that game?
Yes, I've predicted 2-0 Brighton. Solely just based off the fact that Brighton are a strong squad than Leeds. I'll give it to Leeds. They haven't been too bad this season. I think they're currently above Burnley, which actually surprised me a little. I thought Burnley would be above them, but I believe they are now above Burnley. And to be fair, look, we've talked about it before. The promoted sides are doing really well considering, previous seasons. The pattern is usually they come up and go straight down. But you got to give it to them. They're all putting in a good fight, and winning. Getting some surprise shock results, to be fair, here and there. But at the end of the day, Brighton just have a stronger squad than Leeds in, I think, every position on the field, to be honest. And yeah, I think out of all three of the promoted sides, I don't feel like Leeds really did much investment. I think they brought in Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and he has not been great for them, if I'm being honest. But that guy hasn't really been great for a while. I think they do kind of lack a bit of a goal threat up front, to be fair, with Leeds. And yeah, so I just think Brighton are going to take the result, and 2-0 to them.
I put down 3-1 to Brighton. Purely for the same reasons Ali has said as well. I think Leeds have not been an awful side. I think they've had good results, as he said as well. But yeah, obviously Brighton is a different type of team. I think that in terms of quality, they have better players. I just think obviously some players have not been as confident as they once were last season. Like Baliba, I think he's not been great. We saw that against the United game. Maybe it's the pressure of him, being, linked to United and stuff. He's trying to put on a bit of he's trying to show off, he's a good player and whatever. So I got into got under his skin, and maybe didn't make him focus on the game. So yeah, and I feel like players like that need to step up and have a strong mentality, because if you have a weak mentality at a good team like Brighton, then it'll be hard for Brighton to do well, especially like a player like Baliba is very important for the team. So if he doesn't do well, then the team will start to lack and not do well. And I think Matoma as well, he's been quiet this season. I think Matoma's heavily spoken about in the last 2 seasons, and he was heavily linked with Saudi as well. So I think that he's just been off it. He's not been the player that he once was. But I do think there've been some stars. Mente's been good. Obviously Danny Welbeck gaining some form as well. But I think Brighton obviously a better side overall, and I think they'll win this game 3-1. What about you, Carlos?
I've gone with a 2-0 win for Brighton, same as Ali. I think there just is a difference in quality. I think that Brighton, even though they did lose 4-2 to Man United, obviously you saw that moment where they sort of came back into the game and gave United a bit of a scare. At the end of the day, you can see that when they brought on the quality of James Milner and the experience of James Milner, he came on and really made a difference for them. So I thought that was very important, and the way that he linked up with the young player, obviously, which was a crazy stat, to be fair. I think he's the first player to assist a player that was born after his Premier League debut, which is mental, which shows his longevity, and fair play to him, playing for all the big clubs such as Liverpool, Man City, and obviously Brighton now, and Aston Villa, and all the clubs he's played for. So fair play to him for having such a long career. But yeah, like we said, all the promoted sides are doing well, but I just feel like Leeds, even though they are above Burnley, are the club, I think, that lack that sort of edge, if that makes sense. I think even Burnley have more of a X factor, if that makes sense.
Agreed.
So I would just edge the game to Brighton. I'd say 2-0 is a fair result. We'll move on to the next one, and the next one is, funnily enough, Burnley versus Arsenal. Obviously, another promoted side. Al, what do you think is going to happen in that game?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a pretty one-sided game for Arsenal. I think it'll be 3-0 to Arsenal. I don't really think I need to say why. It's pretty obvious. Arsenal are just like levels. We're talking levels above Burnley. Obviously, it's like the other side of the flipping table. You know what I mean? Like, well, they're at the top. They're at the Burnley at the bottom. Against most opponents, I would give Burnley a goal just because I think they do, they still have that fight in them, and they have a decent squad and they can get goals. I mean, we saw against, United back towards the start-ish of the season, like when they got 2 goals against United, obviously lost that game, and I think they beat Wolves in their last game as well, I believe, and that was a close game as well, to be fair to them, but they still managed to win the game. So usually I'd give Burnley a goal, but I think in a game like this, I think Arsenal are just going to thrash them. We'll think it'll be one-sided, and quite frankly, I wouldn't even be surprised if Arteta, relax some of the players, bench some of the players, like starting 11, because I think he'll realise it's an easy game and no need to risk any injury to his main players, his key players, especially when he's got Champions League coming up and stuff like that. I know there's an international break, but still, it's not worth trying to risk an injury, so I think he'll probably do that. 3-0 is the result I've given.
For me, I think it'll be a demolition derby. I put 4-0. I think that Arsenal are very dominated side right now in the Premier League. I think they are the best team right now. As it is shown on the table, they are first. There's not really much I can say about Arsenal, to be fair. Like from top to bottom, just world-class players all over. Unfortunately for me, there's a bit of rivalry between United and Arsenal, but I have to respect what they've done over the last 5 years with Arteta. I mean, I don't think they've had the trophies that they should have had. But I do think it's big progress from the club that they once were. I think especially last season, I think it was like many years. I don't know how many years exactly, but it was a lot of years since they were in a Champions League semi-final. So for them to get that far, into the Champions League is a great achievement for them. And I think this season they will get close to that again, and have a good chance at winning the Champions League. But yeah, in terms of Burnley, I think Burnley not doing too bad this season. I think they're doing okay for a promoter side, but I think Arsenal obviously are going to just destroy them, to put it simply. So yeah, that's what I put down as 4-0. But yeah, what about you, Carlos?
I agree on it being a very one-sided dominant game. Gone with a bit of a less scoreline, giving Burnley a bit more respect, even though it's still 3-0. I just think that, Arsenal, I mean, they beat Atletico Madrid 4-0 at home, which Atletico Madrid never lose by more than 4 goals, you know what I mean? They're a very solid defensive side, and all the credit goes to Arsenal, to beat Atletico Madrid 4-0, and I know that wasn't the last game, but it was, one of the last games, and they've been keeping clean sheets left, right, and centre. They haven't conceded a goal. I think they're on track to at least match or even do better than the Chelsea season.
That.
Obviously, it's not obviously very likely because obviously how many seasons has it been since then? 2005, I believe. It's not easy to do that, and if they were to do it, then fair play, because they're the most likely side this season to achieve that. So I don't think they'll concede a goal, especially with all the respect against the side in Burnley, and they have got the attacking players that can sort of kill the game. And Eze scored against Crystal Palace on the weekend. And they're looking good, and they also beat Brighton midweek. So I would say 3-0 is a fair result for Arsenal. We'll move on to the next game, and that is Crystal Palace versus Brentford. Al, what do you think for that?
Honestly, I think this will be a pretty underrated game of the weekend. I think it's a pretty good game considering both of the squads have been playing really well this season. So I've given it 3-1 though to Crystal Palace, because I just do think Crystal Palace are still better than Brentford, and I think they're a bit more of a balanced team. I think Crystal Palace have a really good defence, and even going forward, they got players like Ismail Assar and Mateta, who are just great. I've said a lot of good things about Ismail Assar, and I think he's even scored against Liverpool twice again in the cup, I believe, and he loves doing that. He obviously did that when he was at Watford to beat the unbeaten streak for Liverpool, which it's funny to see because he's done it again in the week against Liverpool. And I've just been giving him a lot of praise this season. I think it's because he's such a great player. He's obviously been in the Prem before, like I said, with Watford, but I don't think he really truly showed his potential there. But I think right now this season Crystal Palace has really stepped up after they've lost Elise and Eze, and I think he stepped up. I think players like Mateta, he's been very consistent for the last few seasons. And even like we talk about the right back, obviously United, I heard, might be interested in him. He's a great player. But going on to Brentford, they are a great side and I really respect them. And I think they've done really well considering everything that happened in the transfer window. And yeah, I think they're a really well-run club. And I think they've got great players. Like they've replaced the players really well. Jordan Henderson, great leader, great experience in the team. You got players like Ouattara who's come in and just being the goal threat where Wissa and Burma were. And then you got a player like Kelleher. I think he's a really good goalkeeper, to be fair to him. I think even when he was at Liverpool, I highly rated him. So I think that was an amazing sign when I saw he went for Brentford. And it's clearly showed he's done really well for them. But unfortunately for them, I still think Crystal Palace are a bit better than them. And that's why I've given it 3-1 to Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I agree with Ali as well, but I've given it 2-1. Sorry. I've given it 2-1 to Palace, just of the same basis that I think, Palace are a better side. But I have, huge respect for Brentford, with the circumstances that they face, during the transfer window. Yeah, like it is insane what they've done this season. They've had very good wins, very impressive wins against Chelsea, Man United as well, and Liverpool. So yeah, like you can, see, there is some sort of fight going on. They haven't given up. After losing your two greatest players and your coach, most teams would give up and not play as good of football as they could. But I feel like the players that they've brought in have stepped up and, proven why, Brentford are not a team to laugh at all. And that's why I've given it 2-1 still to Palace, just because I think Palace, as I said, overall better team. But I think Brentford do have a fight in this game, They have a chance in getting a result, but I think Palace are just overall the better side, so that's why I've edged the win to them. But I think it'll be a tight game. I don't think it'll be a dominating performance from either side. I think it'll be end-to-end football. So that's why I've given it 2-1. What about you, Carlos?
I've given it 2-1 to Palace as well. I'd say only world-class teams go to Anfield and win. So I'll leave it at that, Fair play to Palace. They went and beat Liverpool 3-0. I know it was just their reserve team, but again, to go and win so convincingly at Anfield is, not easy. Like Ali was saying about Sarr, but obviously I talked about Pino, the Spanish player. He's doing very well too, and obviously I think this was his first goal for Palace, and what a great goal it was. Good finish. I think he's a very exciting player. I think he will definitely make a big difference for Palace and be a very big difference maker, and it's probably a major part in why they are doing so well. So I think he can be a major cog and a very good replacement for Eze. But on the Brentford side of things, we've seen how well they've done. Obviously, you look at Igor Thiago. Scored 7 goals in his last 10 games for Brentford, which is unbelievable. Great striker. Done really well. He scored twice against United, didn't he? I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. He's a great striker. He's doing very well. So maybe he probably will get the goal for Brentford, but I still think that Palace just edge it in terms of quality, defense, attack, midfield, and
just the balance,
the goalkeeper as well. It's the balance of the team. They've been playing longer together. The manager's had more time, so they're more of a complete squad right now. So I'd edge it to Crystal Palace. But we'll move on to the next game, and the next game is Fulham vs Wolves. Al, what do you think for that?
Yeah, I've given it 3-1 Fulham. Man, it is just looking so sad for Wolves right now, and I know how they feel. Don't worry, Wolves fans. I'm with you, man. I'm with you, bro. It's not fun anymore, man. It genuinely has become depressing and just so frustrating watching football, bro. The love of football. I don't know if the Wolves fan agree with me, but like, it's just, it's gone, man. It's gone because the way these owners of both clubs have been ruining the team by not having the direction with the team and the club and everything. It's just so sad. And one thing I gotta say, I feel that makes it even worse for Wolves. Maybe you could say it's like the amount of times they've been blue balls this flipping season, bro. The amount of times they've been so close to winning, bro, and then just in the last seconds they just lost it or like end up drawing. It's just like that's even worse. Like, when you think at least you're gonna do something and then you don't. I mean, it's just so sad. And yeah, man, it's just so dire. And to be fair, Fulham honestly have been very disappointing this season, so I'm not gonna try gas them up and act like they're some great team, because they've been pretty disappointing as well, considering the team that they are, and like whether it's gonna turn around in this game, because they've lost a lot of leads this season, which is not good at all. It just shows that they can't kill off a game, especially with the team they have. They do not have a bad team at all. They got a great squad, great players, even in most positions on the field. Like, you got Anderson in the back, you got in the midfield, not Pereira, he's gone. I completely forgot now. But in the attack, let's go to the attack. They got Smith Rowe. They got players like even Adama Traore. I think he does offer some threat up front, even though he's not maybe his final third. In the final third, he's not so great. But even obviously Raul Jimenez, unfortunately, is injured. Is he still injured? I don't know what's going on with Raul Jimenez.
I think he's back.
Is he back now? He was injured for part of the season, which isn't ideal. So, you know what I mean? And he's a good goal threat for Fulham. So maybe, he can start, killing off games for them. But, I do think just because of how dire it is at Wolves, I think they'll win. And I think this will be a good win for Fulham. But, that's just what I got to say. Just feel so bad for the Wolves fans at the moment.
To be honest, I agree. I've given it 2-1 to Fulham because I think both teams are struggling right now quite badly. I think both teams are in bad form. But I do think obviously Wolves are worse. Like, they haven't had a single win this season, so you cannot compare the two. But I just think both teams, it'll be very difficult. I mean, it's kind of good. It's kind of hard for me to give a win to either team, just because I think both teams are not as good as they can be. It's just Fulham is not the same team as they were last season. So is Wolves. Just teams that are former shadow selves of how they were before. So I just think it won't be an entertaining game to watch per se. I think it'll be a lot of just mistakes and, just missing big chances. And I think it'll be those type of games, where the goal will be very hard to get, but there'll be a lot of chances to potentially score 4 or 5 goals. But I think it'll be, just a very tight win for Fulham. So I'll give it a 2-1. What about you, Carlos?
I've also gone with a 3-1 win. I'm surprised. I'm getting so many of the same scores as you guys. It's just really strange. It's happening a lot nowadays. Like I said, great minds think alike. But, for the situation that Fulham and Wolves are in, Wolves are just way worse off. 2 points in 9 games is dreadful. And, if they continue with that, then, it'll be like, 8 points in 38 or something like that, or something stupid. It might be less than 10 points if they continue with the trajectory they're on, you feel, like Al was saying, you just feel for the Wolves fans, it's horrible, the situation they're in. They're getting into arguments with their players and manager. It's an absolute mess at that club right now, and it was really strange because last season they were doing really well near the end of the season, had a positive end. But obviously losing the players they did, and we see how good Cunha is for Man United. It's quite obvious, they weren't going to be able to replace that easily. He's a quality footballer, and to lose a player like that, and Ignori for Man City. To be fair, he hasn't really played much for Man City. I think he was injured too. But we know how good he is as well, and he was at the club for a long time. When you lose players like that, it will affect you. And it really has for Wolves this season. But on the Fulham side of things, it's really strange why they're not doing well this season. You can see they've got a much better squad than, where they are positioned in the league. And I'd say that they need a result in this game to sort of kick on a little bit. And I think they will get it, to be honest with you. And I think it will be a rather convincing sort of win. So I've given it 3-1 for Fulham. We'll move on to the next game, and it is Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United. Al, what do you think?
I've given the win to Manchester United. I've gone for a 3-1 win. Look, for Nottingham Forest, it hasn't really gone to plan just yet with Sean Dyche. Unfortunately, the Brexit ball hasn't just kicked in just yet for them. But I'm sure he'll stabilise them and get them a win at some point and, start to turn it around a little and at least keep them in the league for sure. But on Man United's side, it's looking great. 3 games on the bounce. Hopefully, he can get 2 more wins for the sake of United. What's his name? United Strand, is it? Or
United Strand, yeah.
That's the one. Hopefully he can get his hair cut, the poor guy. And look, it's just a good feelings all around at Manchester United. 3 wins in a row. I even seen the video of Amarim coming into training, massive smile on his face. Probably first time since he entered United, to be fair. I think they're playing really well. And it's finally starting to gel. You know what I mean? It's finally starting to go to the way Amarim was hoping it'd go and the way he wanted it to go. And the players are starting to really gel together, play well together, especially Cunha and Mbeumo. Like, to be fair, these were the statement signings, and we were waiting for these guys to just kick in and start to like really take the team forward, and they've done it in the last few games. And fair play to them, because they are great signings and they are great players. And we knew that when they were at their former clubs. Obviously, the difference is between these kind of signings and the signings United made before is these are prem proven. You know what I mean? I don't think United were making too many prem proven signings, and now they are, and it's clearly had a massive effect. Obviously, bit of a slow start for United, because towards the start of the season there was a lot of Amorim's out and there was a lot of chaos with Amorim. Is Amorim the right man? And he's proved them wrong. Obviously, look, he still needs to keep it up. He can't just, if he ends up losing this game, are the last 3 games just flukes? You don't know. You have to wait and see, really. But I think genuinely this is something like, he's starting to build some consistency. And yeah, I mean, obviously after this game there's going to be the international break, so I think it's really important for him to win this game and like just leave it with a bang, you know what I mean, before the international break. So again, I do think United's team are a bit stronger at the moment. I do like Nottingham Forest's team, but I think they're just a bit obviously it's just third manager like since the start of the season, because obviously they start with Nuno and then Ange and now it's Sean Dyche, so third manager in the season, so it's hard to really like get a style of play going. And but I'm sure Brexit Ball will come in at some point and help them win some games. But yeah,
just before Hassan you say anything, the international break is not this weekend, it's after the weekend after.
No, that is it. Wait, so is there another week of football after this?
There's another weekend. There's another weekend
right.
Because the Champions League is on next week, so, and then obviously
we don't have
after that.
Oh, is it? Right. Banging.
Yeah.
Wow, even better, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, to be fair.
Yeah, anyways, I've predicted 3-0 for Man United. I just think that Forest right now, I think it's just a club that's, not stable right now versus a club that is going through some stability right now. I think Man United right now is kind of going through a good trajectory right now. At the start of the season, United wasn't really doing well. There's a lot of pressure on Amorim. Is he the right man? Is he going to take United forward? And, he silenced the haters pretty much, like right now you don't really see the same type of energy as there was at the start of the season. I feel like people are too reactionary and don't give the man enough time, like especially with the players that he inherited from different managers who play different style of football. You can't expect the man to come and do a job straight away. So, I'm happy for him because, he's a very honest guy. He's very likable and he knows what he's talking about. He's not a stupid manager by any means. It's just things haven't gone his way at the beginning and he needed time to implement what he needs and, get the players that he needs as well. I still think obviously he needs more players to play the style that he wants, but I think right now it's a good foundation to, start with. Especially when you got the likes of Mbeumo and Cunha, as what Ali's mentioned. They are great leaders to the team because they did it in, relatively smaller clubs than Man United. Man United, obviously, as we know, is a big club. So if we know their mentality was, rock solid in these clubs and they performed week in, week out, then we know for United they can do it easily. I think Cunha said in an interview as well, like, God put me in this situation, to play at a big club. I've done it for teams like Wolves, so if I could come here and do a job, then it shouldn't be any pressure on me, and that's the mentality we want to see, like when players feel privileged to wear the shirt, that's a good sign that he's going to come and do well. So, I'm glad that the players are sticking by the manager and, the results are coming through. And as Ali said as well, hopefully United's trying to get his trim because we all like to see that eventually in Old Trafford. But yeah, no, I'm happy with how the team is going so far. But for Forest, not been great. Very. I don't know what to say about Forest. There's a lot of things going on. You can't pinpoint pinpoint one thing and say this is the main reason for Forest not doing well. I think it's just a cascade of different things. I mean, the ownership and the manager interfering with the club and just it's just falling off completely for them. So yeah, but I think Forest, they're still a good side. As Ali said, I think that they are definitely underperforming for the squad that they got, especially when they kept Morgan Gibbs-White. He's a very good player, and they've got other good players in the team as well. So I feel like, it's just it's a bit unfortunate for them, the circumstances that they go through. But yeah, I think it'll be a dominant performance for Man United, because of the form, and that's why I'm giving it 3-0. What about you, Carlos?
I've gone with 3-1. You know what? I'm thinking about it more and more. I feel like this game could be a bit of a banana skin for us. Only because the last couple teams we played, they're a bit more open than what Burnley are. Sorry, Burnley. So used to Sean Dyche being with Burnley. I've called them Burnley.
Yeah,
Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I feel like it will be a bit more of a closed game if that makes sense. Obviously, the Brexit ball, the stay in your own half, not giving United players much space. Obviously we have a lot more quality now in the attack. Obviously, like you guys were saying about Mbemo and Cunha, even Sesko. To be fair to him, he's not had many chances. He scored a couple goals here and there, but he's holding up the ball really well. His link-up play looks really good. His assist for Mbemo the other day was very good. Yeah, the attack looks really interesting, and obviously with Mount as well, he's been very good for United as well this season. The midfield, to be fair, you give credit what credit's due. Casemiro in the last game was very, very good. A lot of people said he was finished. I wouldn't. Maybe I might include myself in that. To be fair,
me too.
he wasn't very good. It looked like he lost his legs, but now he's coming and he's done very well. And he's kind of showing Ugarte and Mainu that he's still got it, and they have to work a lot harder to try and get in the team. And obviously Bruno is Bruno. That dummy for Mbomo's goal was incredible.
Quality.
We don't have to talk about the defense and goalkeeper because they've sort of made a name for themselves. Lamens has come in and been unbelievable, but I feel like against Nottingham Forest with the style of play, I think they're going to play under Sean Dyche. I think that it will be very difficult. I hope we can score from a set piece because I think every sort of team's using set pieces now, especially the long throws. The long throws have come back. I wouldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea start using Liam Delap on long throws. Using the genetics. You know what I mean? But I feel like we have to score from a set piece. I feel like to get in the game because again, even Nottingham Forest, they're good defensively, and they actually put in the most crosses this season out of any side. So we have to hope that our defense are defensively and aerially dominant. But yeah, I do expect Man United to win this game 3-1. So yeah, we'll move on to the game of the weekend. And I was just mentioning Chelsea. It is Tottenham versus Chelsea. Al, what do you think will happen in this game?
Yeah, like you said, game of the weekend. So I've given it a big scoreline of 3-2. We know how good these games can be, and just how crazy they can get. And to be fair, when I was trying to predict it, I was like, do I go 2-1 or 3-2? I was like, nah, I think there'll be a lot of goals in this game. So I've gone 3-2.
Sorry, 3-1, 3-2 to who?
To Tottenham, sorry. I forgot. I'm not sure if I mentioned that.
Interesting.
But yeah, 3-2 to Tottenham. I know. Yeah, see, I was also debating whether to give it to Chelsea or not. But I think Tottenham have just been a bit better than Chelsea. I think Chelsea at the moment is just a bit too chaotic for me, the team. Obviously, I think the defence, we've talked about too many times, it lacks experience and lacks quality in the defence. Even the goalkeeper, I don't think is like any great either for Chelsea. And I think in terms of Tottenham, in terms of the squad, I actually think they're more well balanced than Chelsea this season. And obviously, even in the table, to be fair to Tottenham, I've said some bad things about them before in terms of their inconsistency, but I'm pretty sure they're they're in the top 4. You know what I mean? So, fair play. Even though we've said a lot of things about them, they're actually playing really well. It's just, I think there's some certain games where they are a bit disappointing and maybe, you know what I mean? So, concerning the players that they have. Even players like Xavi Simons hasn't necessarily maybe been the best player so far for them, but I just think Kudus, I knew how good he was at West Ham, and he's been tearing up with Tottenham, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple assists or even a goal this game. And yeah, I think it'll be a great game, and considering it is at the Tottenham Stadium, that's why I've given them that edge, that win, just because I believe it will be an advantage for them. And yeah, I just think with Thomas Frank, the way he plays, I think he's a smart manager. I think he'll know how to play to Chelsea's weaknesses, and I think they'll get the win because of that. And yeah, I've given it 3-2. I think it'll be a good game, and hopefully I can't wait to watch it, to be fair. So yeah.
I've given it 2-1 to Chelsea, just off the basis that I think Chelsea, just had good results against Tottenham, and Tottenham have just been very inconsistent this season. I think even though they're top 4, they've lost and drew against teams that they should have not lost or drawn to. So I think that against a good side like Chelsea, I don't think they'll get the result. Look, I guess at home, but I think at home Tottenham have not been great either. I think they lost to. They played
Bournemouth,
at
wasn't it?
home to Aston Villa as well, wasn't it? They lost. They
Yeah,
lost at
Villa
home.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost to Villa, they lost to Bournemouth as well. So the home record is not the best as well. And I think as Chelsea, they will dominate in possession. I think Tottenham are not really a team that plays with the ball often. They're more of a counter-attacking side. I like to play on the wings. So yeah, I just think Chelsea are overall very. I think what Ali said about Tottenham being a more balanced side. I think that Chelsea are a more balanced side. I think in terms of the transfers, you can say that they invest a lot in the attack. But I think when you look at Chelsea, the only balance that they kind of often is defense. But I think for Tottenham, the main problem is the strike force for Tottenham. I don't think it's strong enough to put away 3 goals against Chelsea. So, I mean, that is my opinion. But, yeah, I just think Tottenham are lacking in terms of goals. Certain, in the Everton game, for example, they did score 3 goals. But I will say that Everton were quite unfortunate that game. And, they played well. And I don't think they deserve to lose 3-0. But, yeah, I just think Chelsea will get a result, against Tottenham. And that's why I'm going at 2-1. What about you, Carlos?
I've gone with a 2-2 draw, to be honest with you. I think that both teams could have done a lot better this season. I know you say Tottenham are, to be fair, I'm pretty sure they are third in the league right at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but if you look at the points tally, you got Man City and United, they're both on their tail with 1 point. Even Liverpool 15 points, Aston Villa 15 points. It's really, really close. I mean, by the end of on Saturday, it could be United in second. Just it depends on how results go, really. I would say that it's going to be a very interesting game. Tottenham looking very different under Thomas Frank, and to say the least, obviously a lot better than last season. They're not going to finish 17th. We can almost guarantee that. Like Ali was saying about Kudus, is that he's been the best player and he's a top joint assister in the Premier League this season. Quality footballer. We knew that at his time at West Ham, and even before that, honestly, I thought he was great. I was telling Ali when West Ham signed him back when he was at Ajax. Great player.
He was a good player, yeah.
And he will, come in and make a difference in the Premier League, and so he did, and still is doing for Tottenham too. For Chelsea's sake, they did get a big win against Wolves, and obviously it was a very close game, to be fair, 4-3. I mean, Wolves giving them a good game, but Jamie Gittins scored a beautiful goal, unbelievable goal on the volley, and he's just silenced that arrogant little kid Garnacho. Tell him to calm down, calma. I'm the left winger here. Yeah, listen, I don't want to take the piss out of Garnacho because it's not all about him. But I think Chelsea won't lose this game only because they have quality in midfield, and I think that could be the main difference in terms of I think Chelsea's midfield is way better than Tottenham's. And maybe the other positions, maybe in the attack and the defence, you might give Tottenham the edge. But I think the midfield is so important that I think it will get Chelsea a result. But I still think it will be a 2-2 draw. So I've gone with that. We'll move on to the next game and the final game of the Saturday. And it is Liverpool vs Aston Villa. Al, what do you think?
Yeah, honestly, this one was a pretty hard one for me. I've gone 2-1 Villa. Part of me was like, surely Liverpool can't lose another game, and surely they got to win at some point again, right? And that's why I was like, do I go Liverpool to win or do I go Villa? Because Villa have also been really good. I mean, they just beat City 1-0 as well in the league. So I'm just like, I really didn't know. Am I really confident in this prediction? Not really. But screw it, why not? I've got to get ahead of Hassan somehow, you know what I mean? So you got to take risks. So yeah, I've gone to... Exactly, so I've gone 2-1 Villa. Look, I just think obviously it's quite clear Liverpool have just been absolutely shocking in the last 7 games or so. And yeah, it's just not great for them. Obviously they lost in the Cup as well, but that was just suicidal lineup from Slot. I don't know what he was thinking, to be honest with that. Clearly showing I didn't care enough about the Cup. And yeah, obviously Crystal Palace got the win that they deserved. And yeah, it's just not going great. Don't really know what Slot's going to do to fix it. I think the biggest problem has genuinely been, surprisingly, the transfer window. I know we praised it so highly, but I genuinely think it's kind of screwed him over. I think he's now just so confused. I think this man just doesn't know what to do with the lineup, and it's just screwing him over. I feel like he feels obliged to having to start the new people that have been signed. And I think that's kind of, negatively impacting the team. And I think he just needs to resort back to...
Right? Would you say?
Huh?
Would you say that ruined the balance of the team by signing those players, especially for high price?
Yeah, 100%. We said it before. When they signed Ekatika and he was cooking, there was no need to sign Isaac as well. And we said that could have been spent elsewhere. And they didn't do it. And it's come back to bite them. Because realistically, if they signed, Gahey with that money... I mean, God knows what they could be doing. They could have gone on to, carry on winning games and, challenge Arsenal for the title still. Obviously, there's still a lot of games to go. Will I think they challenge for the title? It's hard to say. Probably not, because they're just falling so far behind. I know, again, it's only 9 games in, but come on, man. Look at the way Arsenal are playing. Look at the way they're playing. You know what I mean? Arsenal are just consistently good. It's not even like they look a bit okay. No, they're good. You know what I mean? They're good. And Liverpool, unfortunately, have just been absolutely below par now. And I've even heard shouts about Slot getting sacked. Some people are debating about it. I just can't see him getting sacked because, he's got way too much credit in the bank. But if he loses another 3 games in a row, then you never know. But the only thing with that is who do you replace him with? You know what I mean? So maybe they try getting Iraola or Glasner take away them from these clubs. You never know. But at this rate, it's just not looking great for Liverpool, and that's why I gave the win for Villa. And again, Villa have just been great so far since they turned their season around. So fair play to them.
I've gone for 1-1 draw. It might also be a controversial score, but I think Liverpool are a good side on paper. When you look at the names, on that team sheet, you'd expect them to win most games. But, as Ali said, they've had terrible form and not been great. And Aston Villa's been opposite, they had a slow start to the season, but they've been very good. And I think it'll be a very tight game, But yeah, I just think Liverpool is just shocking, and I don't know, the defense is Van Dijk, as I spoke about last video, he's fallen off completely. He's not the same Van Dijk that we all know. And Konate has not been great. He's had good games this season, but he's also had really bad games too. And Kirkes has not settled at left back either, just not doing great. And Bradley is not, I wouldn't say he's a great starter for Liverpool, I think they are, they're missing out on Trent, I think Trent was a big loss to Liverpool. And I kind of predicted 100%. That as well, he might not have been the best defensively, but he provided a lot of creativity and balance in the team. So I think, it was a big mistake letting him go. But I don't think it's not really on Liverpool per se. Maybe they could have offered a better deal, but, I think losing a player like that, who's obviously, grown up in the academy and, done really well for the club and won big trophies, you can't let a player like that go that easily, because now you have to replace him with another player, pay God knows how much, millions, just to get a new right back, and they might not do well. Frimpong has been hit and miss. He's not been great. So about Liverpool, it's not looking great for them. But Aston Villa, opposite for them. They've had big wins this season, especially of recent, which is good to see. Because they had a really bad start to the season. Didn't score any goals for 4 or 5 games, which is insane. But it's good to see them doing well now, and that's why I've given it 1-1, just because I think it'll be a tight game. But what about you, Carlos? What do you think?
I've also gone with the 1-1 draw. I agree with you a lot, but I don't think it's that controversial anymore. I just feel like Liverpool have been so poor, even throughout the whole season. You can't even defend. Even when they were winning games, they weren't convincing, and it looked like they could be gotten at, And now, they've been sort of exposed in the sense that they've been losing games left, right, and centre. I know they beat Frankfurt 5-1, but with all due respect to Frankfurt, and to be fair, Wirtz went back to Germany and finally got a good game for Liverpool. But I just think that it's very dire times. I think we might even be a bit generous, to be honest, giving them a draw. I think they're just so poor this season. I don't know what to say about Liverpool. From Premier League champions to Premier League flops, in my opinion. It's just horrible to watch them play football, if I'm honest. But on the Villa side of things, you got to say fair play to them. They've come back from having a bad start, and it was the opposite, vice versa. They had a very bad start to the season where they weren't scoring and they weren't winning games, and now, they're beating Man City. They're coming away to Anfield, and I feel like they're going to get a result. So yeah, they look very good, and obviously Emi Martinez is a massive part of that, and I would say probably their best player. Keeping them. He was keeping them in games in the beginning of the season, and now he's sort of had his teammates sort of back him up now. And to be fair, Matty Cash, up for their player of the season as well. He's been incredible for them.
Polish Cafu, man. Polish Cafu.
Yeah, Polish Cafu, yeah.
Mateus Cash, bro.
Yeah, so I'll give it a 1-1 draw. So yeah, we'll move on to the next game, and it is Al's beloved West Ham versus Newcastle. Al, what do you think?
I've just had to go against my own team, man. But obviously, I was going to go against my own team. I've gone 3-1 Newcastle, and deservedly so for Newcastle. I mean, look, even if West Ham were playing well, Newcastle probably still win that game because Newcastle, as a squad, are like 5 times better in each position, to be honest. I don't think there's one player in the West Ham squad at the moment that gets into that Newcastle squad. You could maybe argue Jared Bowen, because Jared Bowen is just such a great player, but even then, like, who have they got at the right wing?
Alanga.
Nah, I think Bowen gets in over Alanga personally, but nonetheless, I just think Newcastle, the rest of the squad's just miles better, bro. You look at the midfield, I don't even need to say anything. Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton. Who have we got in the midfield? 2 pensioners, a couple of dickheads, whatever you want to call them, like just pieces of shit, whatever. You know what I mean? I love Souček, and I'll always love him, and I think he can still do well for us. I just think you can't put him next to another dickhead like Irving, who I never want to see put on a flipping West Ham shirt ever again. He's awful. And yeah, and it just confuses me why he never... Look, play Souček, no problem, but play him alongside Mateus Fernandes or Magassa, not next to Irving, for the love of God. I swear if he does that again against Newcastle, I'm going to rip my hair out my head, bro, because I've had enough seeing that man, bro. And, bro, I swear to God, if this cross-eyed prick starts to fall back the other way around as well, yeah, I'm just done with football, bro. I'm not watching another game of football after that. But, yeah, nah. I said it obviously towards the start of the video, it's just depressing. It's very depressing right now. I genuinely don't enjoy watching football, and I blame the owners for that. Because the owners have put no direction into the club. They don't give a shit about the club, and it shows with the way the team's going, the way the signings have been, and the fact that they just, they don't, it's like they don't care. They just don't care. They just don't care, man. And it's awful. Even like, I just feel bad because I think I've heard rumours about Kerr wanting to push for a move out, and quite frankly, I could not blame him because the way we are playing, it's championship level. It's not even championship level at this point. It is League One level. Genuinely, I'm so worried that if we get into the championship, like sometimes you can argue these promoted teams, they go up and then go down, but they're most likely to go back up. If West Ham to go down, I don't see us coming back up straight away. I think it will be a couple of years until we see them come back up, because that's how diabolical it is at the club right now. Like I said, absolutely no direction, and yeah, man, I'm just so worried, bro. So that's why I've gone 3-1.
Interesting enough, I've gone for the same score. Yeah, look, we can talk about West Ham's problems for a very long time, but we don't have the time for that. So I'll try and break it down, as like brief as I can. I think West Ham, just in a bad state, from top to bottom, kind of like Man United, but obviously now at the bottom, the team and players were actually doing well in terms of that. But obviously the ownership is still affecting the club. Still not a great. It's like a dark grey cloud over Old Trafford, knowing that these owners are still going to be here. But I think for West Ham, I think there's a lot of problems at the club, from the players to the manager to the ownership. I think the ownership obviously has always been the biggest problem at West Ham, and that is why it's providing a lot of instability and unhappy, making fans really unhappy. Yes, it's sad to see, because West Ham was doing really well last season. I think they had very impressive performances.
Sorry, what? Wait, do you remember where we finished last season, buddy? Just to let you know.
I think West Ham as a team were playing better. You know what I mean? Like better football, and
we're playing
you lot were actually
better. We went from League One level to Championship level. That like, you know what I mean? That's last season was Championship, this season League One. That's all I'm saying, bro.
regardless, you guys were playing better, and you had standout players, Wan-Bissaka, Jared Bowen, but those players are not performing as well as they were last season, So, yeah, it's there's not really been a light at the end of the tunnel for West Ham this season. But for Newcastle, on the other hand, they've had very big wins against Tottenham recently, and as well in the Champions League against Benfica. Very impressive result away from them. I think it was 3-0. So yeah, Newcastle look like a very good side, but also kind of like Tottenham, not been the most consistent side. I think they've had bad losses too, and a few draws here and there. But I do think Newcastle are still a very good side, and they will win 3-1 against West Ham. But yeah, what about you, Khalis? What do you think?
Not gonna like it. I've said 3-1 to Newcastle too. All predicting the same scores. I think we can all agree that West Ham have been terrible this season, to say the least. Probably on par with Wolves. There's like Hassan was saying, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Really, doesn't look like it anyway. The manager just playing the wrong lineups, and it's been the same with Graham Potter, and it's moved on to Nuno too. My sister, when she was younger, she used to call Nuno Kiwi Head. I don't know why that's popped into my head right now, but yeah, he's been a bit of a Kiwi Head right now. He's not picking the right lineup. Like we say it with the fullbacks. I don't know what he's doing there. Like, why playing the fullbacks wrong way around? It's really strange. Like Wan-Bissaka at left back.
I've genuinely never seen anything like it.
Honestly, right now I wouldn't play him at right back. So why are you playing him at left back?
Literally.
You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. And then like Skulls at right back, it's like, bro, the guy's not getting time at left back. Why are you giving him time at right back? Do you know what I mean? And obviously, like we talk about the midfield as well. Irving and Souček. Honestly, I know you're defending Souček, and I know you're saying he could probably do well with Magassa or Fernandez, but I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't start him either.
But I'm just like, if you're going to at least start him with someone else.
Fernandez and Magassa as your starting midfield. And then Souček off the bench, because I feel like you said, he's a goal threat and he's dangerous and in the box, which is, fair enough. He's been like that for the whole time at West Ham. So, you got to give him a credit there. But I wouldn't say he's a starting midfielder at all.
No,
maybe neither of the other lot. Maybe Magassa and Fernandez might not be good enough either, but you've got to give them a chance. They're new signings.
No, he's good.
What I'm saying is, in the midfield, can they fight? Can they battle in the midfield? I feel like Mateus Fernandez is a bit more of an attacking player, if that makes sense.
Fair enough.
So I would say,
even Freddie
they need
Potts.
to work on it, but yeah, Freddie Potts is a good shout.
He was good when he came on against Leeds,
you need a stable midfield for me.
100%.
And Magassa and Fernandez need to be the starting midfield. If I was the West Ham manager, I would do that, but again, I'm not. It's Kiwi Head, so with Newcastle's side of things, Voltemada.
What a man.
That's just it. That's the...
What guy?
Yeah, 6 goals in 7 games. I'm not making the pun. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it.
Please don't.
I'm not
too late for this.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. To be honest, he's been fantastic. Don't laugh. Please don't laugh. Newcastle, they've had another good season, good start to the season. They're also doing well in the Carabao Cup, in the Champions League too, getting good wins. So it's very impressive how they're doing this season. And, I don't see, with all due respect to West Ham, I don't see them standing in their way. So I'd give them a 3-1 win to Newcastle. And yeah, let's move on to the next game. Manchester City versus Bournemouth, Al. What do you think?
Honestly, I think it'll be a very close game, but I do think City will still edge the win. I've given it 2-1 to City. I think City... this game is going to be a close game. But what we know with City is that, especially at their stadium, they usually win those kind of games. And to be fair to them, obviously they won midweek. I mean, it was only against Swansea, so it's nothing crazy. But still, they didn't play their best team, and they still won the game 3-1. Fair play to them. And it was some of their new signings, Cherky, obviously getting a goal, I believe, which is good for his confidence. Obviously, you want that with your new signings, and I just think City, especially with a player like Haaland, we know what that man, how good that guy is. We talked about it. We don't need to talk about him anymore. But that goal threat that he provides is what's probably going to win them the game. As long as you give him the chances, he'll get the goals for you. Yeah, and so I think as long as they give him the chances, they'll win that game. And in terms of Bournemouth, I still think they're such a massive threat, especially this season. They've been one of my favourite teams this season to watch and just to see. They've been absolutely amazing, and fair play to them. And that's why That's why I think it's a close game. Just because I think some of these players that have been playing, this season for Bournemouth, the way they've been playing is just crazy. Like we've said it before, Clivert, obviously the key man himself, Semenyo. Like again, he's such a good player, and he's definitely going to get a big move in the summer. And yeah, even like players like Truffer in the left back who's replaced Kirkes, I think he's been amazing considering like how hard we thought it'd be to replace that defensive line. And to be fair, the players that have come in and done well. You know what I mean? So it feels like nothing's really changed over there, and if anything, it's gotten better, which is really surprising considering the amount of great players that are left in the summer. Obviously, they're pretty much their whole defensive lineup. Hoyson, Zabayani, Kirkes, they all left, and they the people that have come in and replaced them are doing better.
Kepa as well.
Kepa. To be fair, yeah, Kepa, he was obviously great for them, but then again, they've got the keeper now, he's doing great. So, yeah, fair play. Now, Bournemouth are a great side, but I just think City at home, I think they just edge that win for me personally. But I think it'll be close.
I've put it 3-1 to Man City. I've changed my score last minute because I looked at 3-0 and I was like, why did I put down 3-0? I think that Bournemouth are still a very good side, and they are capable of scoring goals. But I think in City, this season, we kind of said, they're looking not great in the fullback positions, but they've been decent when it comes to, goal, conceding goals. They've only conceded 7 goals this season, which isn't bad. I think that's mainly down to Donnarumma. Donnarumma is a excellent elite goalkeeper, and he's kept them out of bad situations and made very big stops. Especially that one save against Mbeumo. Like I thought that was going in, and I was really disappointed how he saved it. Because I thought that was a guaranteed goal. But yeah, it's just impressive what Donnarumma can do. At shot stopping, he's the best of the best. So yeah, I think that would be the main guy, as well as Haaland, to keep them in this game and get a result against Bournemouth, because Bournemouth, as we know, is a very good side. They have very good players like Semenyo, for example, who could be very dangerous on that left wing. So yeah, I think it'll be not a dominant game for Man City, but I just think when you have Haaland up top, it's goals galore for him. So yeah, I think it'll be a 3-1 win for Man City. What about you, Carlos?
I've also gone with the 2-1 win for Man City. Yeah, Haaland had a break midweek, I believe, against Swansea. He wasn't even in the squad, so Pep's really looking after Haaland in that sense. So he'll definitely come back into the lineup unless there's a shock knock or shock injury. I did say in the last video, if Haaland doesn't perform, who will? I know Mamouche and Cherki and Doku scored against Swansea. It could build a bit of confidence. You never know. I will say that. Yeah, I feel like if Haaland doesn't perform, Man City do lack that goal threat, though. I mean, he's been the most consistent goal scorer in the league for the last, however long he's been in it. Is the last 4 seasons or something like that?
3 or 4?
4 seasons, I mean. I think. Well, this is his 4th season.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say, yeah, without Haaland, they'd almost be nowhere. If I'm honest with you, even in the last 4 years, I feel like he's such a big impact, such a big difference maker. Even the titles they won when he was there, I don't think he wins that. That's just how good he is. So, yeah, on the Man City side of things, I think they'll get enough goals on it. Haaland will definitely score a goal, probably. And yeah, like the boys were saying about Bournemouth, fair play to them. Great attacking players. The defensive line, even though it's been almost completely revamped, it just looks better, if anything. It's more solid. But, I will edge the win for Man City because I feel like they are the better team. So, yeah. We'll move on to the final game of the weekend, and that is Sunderland vs Everton. Al, what do you think for that game?
Yeah, last game, I think it'll be another really close game. 2 great teams, very close in quality, I think, personally. But I do think at the moment Sunderland are just cooking, man, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So I've given them the win 2-1. just about. I think they'll just about edge this win, personally. I think Everton, unfortunately, as good as they are, I think they just do lack they completely lack a goal threat, in my opinion. Like, yes, you got Ndiaye, Grealish, but I mean, like, that striker, you know what I mean? Because realistically, as good as Grealish and Ndiaye are, like, they can't always score because of the positions that they play in. It's a bit more difficult, if you know what I mean. Like, I do think Beto is a good striker, but I just think he just needs to be a bit more clinical. He is getting the chances, but again, I think if they sign a better striker in January or in summer, then, you know what I mean, that just elevates them to another level. However, on Sunderland's side, yeah, everything's just working for them, and it's going really well. I mean, when you got a player like Xhaka leading the squad, it's always going to go well. A man that obviously went unbeaten in the league with Leverkusen, done really well towards the end of his Arsenal career as well. Yeah, man, like, when you got someone like that in your team just leading you on, it's always going to work out, and it's always going to motivate the rest of the team. And it's just shown with the team. And even the defense, really good. They got Mukiel, they got Reynaldo. I don't know how to say his name, to be fair. I hope I haven't butchered that. Even the keeper's been great. And yeah, man, they're just a great squad overall, and fair play. Like, we thought they'd do well. We thought they'd stay in the league, but God, they've exceeded expectations to another level. You know what I mean? Like, what position are they now? Aren't they in the top 4 as well? Am I tripping?
The 4th right now.
Damn, that is crazy. Do you know what I'm on about? I know it's only 9 games in, but top 4 for a team that's just got promoted. Can they do a Leicester? Probably not, but that's just because Arsenal are doing too well. Yeah, fair play. Can they get Champions League football at least? That would be crazy in itself anyway. But hopefully may it continue for Sunderland. And yeah, that is why I'm going to 2-1.
Yeah, I've given them 2-1 as well. I think Everton have kind of fallen off recently. They've had quite disappointing performances, especially against Tottenham. I do think that was a game for them to prove that, they can be a team that competes for Europe, because, especially with the likes of Jack Grealish has come in and basically transformed the attack. I think that they were going to get, a few goals that game, but, unfortunately they didn't. I want teams like Everton to do well because they've been in the Premier League for a long time, but they haven't had any sort of peak, or a great season. So, I do want to see that for them, at some point. And they have the squad to prove it, They have a very good squad. I just think they're lacking defensively, which is not ideal. Because defenses do win you games. And if you have weak defense, you have to rely mostly on your attack to, pull you through games and get results. And most of the time, that's not reliable enough. So, yeah, I think Sunderland overall, top to bottom, a very good team. Midfield, the attack, the defense, even the goalkeeper as well. The goalkeeper's been one of the best goalkeepers of the season. So, yeah, it's just all around very impressive stuff from Sunderland. This is a club that knows how to run a club properly and make the right signings as well. Not big names as such. Like Xhaka and Mukiele are relatively decently big names, but not like superstar names. So, they signed them mainly on the experience, because they've won trophies at big clubs, so they know what it's like to compete in, the Premier League. So, yeah, I think that, they've made very impressive signings and it's proving to pay off. And, I just wish it continues for them, because you like to see clubs who are promoted to do well and remain in the league, because it's been a common theme where, most sides just, stay in the season for a bit and they get relegated and go back to the Championship. So we do want to see a bit of competition, in the league, and, that it's good we're seeing that, And yeah, for Everton, I just, hopefully they regain form and start playing well. We do know about, how good of a team they are. When they're playing at their best, they basically, they push back Liverpool on home ground. So, yeah, I think that's one of the best performances that Everton had, and I think that they could definitely play like that again if they just carry on doing what they were doing in those games. But yeah, I think in this game, I think Sunderland should win it, and I think it's at home for them as well, and they've got a good record at home, so that's why I've given them the win. What about you, Khals? What do you think?
I've gone with a 2-0 win for Sunderland. I feel like it'll be a bit more convincing. Everton, had a good start to the season, I would say, but they still have more losses than wins. So, you say they've been good, and they have been, and the attacking players look very good and dangerous. But, I feel like Sunderland this season, they just look a lot better. And like Hassan was saying about the home form's been impeccable. You know, from start of the season till now, they've looked great, and they've looked like they've improved as well. You know, it's not like they're lucky fluke wins. No, they're getting better and better because the squad is starting to gel more and more. You know, the goalkeepers looked fantastic, defense looked great, midfield, and even the attack as well. So yeah, Sunderland look really dangerous, and like I said in the previous video, I did predict before the season started that Sunderland would finish above Newcastle. Obviously, it was a bit of a rogue prediction, and like it's at the time it sounded a bit crazy, but I was
You
like,
never know, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
you never know. That's what I'm saying. In football,
it's
you
football.
never know. Famous Eden Hazard line right there. So, yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable what they're doing, and honestly, let's hope they can continue it. But with Everton, you know, they are a good team. They are. They have a good attack. They lack in the defense, I would say, and probably the midfield too. That's why I feel like, you know, with a player like, I always say it, Granit Xhaka, the player like that can make a massive difference. And if they win the midfield battle, I think they'll win the game. So I've gone with a 2-0 win for Sunderland. So that is it for our prediction video, guys. Hopefully you guys agree with us, and if you don't, please leave your predictions in the comments. We'd love to see you guys get involved as well. But before we finish the video, Al, do you want to give us the quiz for the next player, please?
Of course. Let's start with the first fact. He captained Nigeria's Olympic team to a gold medal in 1996, scoring twice in a famous comeback win over Brazil. Second fact. After leaving Ajax, a medical exam revealed a serious heart defect, leading to a surgery that temporarily halted his career, but he made a full return. Third fact, he won the Champions League with Ajax in 1995 before ever playing in the Premier League. Fourth fact, he is one of few players to have played for Arsenal, West Bromwich Albion and Portsmouth, winning trophies with two of them. And for the fifth final fact, known for his silky footwork and calm finishing, he scored a hat-trick against Chelsea in 1999, including 2 goals in the final minutes to seal a 3-2 win for Arsenal. Let us know in the comments if you know who that is, and of course we will reveal him in the start of the next episode.
Perfect, guys. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate your time. We are growing as a community, and you guys are a big part of that. So we really appreciate you guys coming in. Hopefully we can grow more and more together. So thank you guys for that. But that's the end of the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you get notified when we upload the next video, and take care. See you on the next one, guys.
See ya.
See ya.